Welcome. My name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in to try to figure out some more about your dog. There's one thing I want to talk about today, and that's going to come down to the concept of something that, I don't know, a lot of people ain't going to like what I got to say right now. But the way that I'm going to want to talk about what I want to talk about today and the concept of how to say no to my dog. Does it come down to something that I think that a lot of people think that they need to do to be able to communicate that effectively to your dog? This is the part where I'm continuously saying, do nothing, and hang out with your dog and walk with your dog, go to place with your dog. Stop trying to yank that leash to try to get them to get out of things. Stop trying to continuously yanking it, pulling it every single time that the dog sees something and it's unsure. I'm going to continuously say, stop doing that, because there's something that I've just come to realize. You know, I didn't always see it this way. I didn't always think about it this way. And I don't always just come to realize it this way. But I used to think that you could just yank that leash when that dog is looking at something that you don't want him to look at, that's going to make them stop doing that. But in reality, in not all cases, but most all cases, you're working backwards with the dog. You're actually telling the dog to do that as opposed to telling the dog not to do that. That's where we have to have very, very clear communication with the dog. And for me, having very clear communication with the dog, I want my no to come out of my mouth, out of my being, out of my essence, not out of anything that I'm physically doing to the dog. Not me withholding something from the dog, trying to say, oh, you didn't do it right, so I'm not going to give you a treat. Not any, you're not doing something I want, so grab that leash and just pull on that leash to grab him to you. I've just realized that me, myself, my being, me just looking at that dog and saying, no, I don't want that. Firm and just straight at it, especially when you're looking at the dog. I realized that is the most beautiful, effective way to get your dog to stop doing something that you don't want him to do. Because everything else it's wishy-washy. This is where I'm going to say, giving I go both sides of it. Giving a leash correction to a dog can help a lot of dogs with a lot of people that know exactly what you're doing with that dog. But the problem is, if you don't know what you're doing, that's when you're going to start to go backwards. Because I've seen it and I've done it myself, that I've been able to get dogs through some things with being able to just, use that leash. And I'm not really having much of an issue later on. But the main thing is you got to know exactly what's going on with that dog. You have to have a good relationship with that dog. That dog has to understand you. It has to know you. It has to believe in you. It has to trust in you. And then you're going to be able to get somewhere with that. But still, even with that, you can really get into the dog's feelings of, hey, that was a little bit too much right there. And that's where I just like the verbal way of being able to say no to my dog. Because it's pretty much it's never too much. Like me personally, I can't say it to this dog and this dog. And she's getting here soon. I can't really say no. That's why I say and say, hey, stop that. Hey, don't do that. I use language like that because it is very powerful when the dogs are very in tune with listening to what you have to say. That's why I'm continuously saying don't do anything. Allow the dog to just be able to get through the world and see the world without it thinking that it needs to fight with you. And that's what leash pressure really comes down to, fighting with the dog. And I want to say I think that we're smart enough as human beings to just say, I'm not fighting with no dog, man. I'm not even fighting with another human being. I'm intelligent enough to know that I'm not going down that route. And especially with a dog, I'm not fighting with a dog. And that's what goes on when we're doing all this back and forth and doing all this foolishness with this leash. We're fighting with dogs. And at the end of the day, most dogs are going to win that battle because they're going to outperform you. And then because too, you're going to run into a situation that you're going to, so right here, she's locked in. I'll say, Ophi, and then she's gonna, you see the ears move. She's like, ooh, what's going on? It's starting to affect and I can say something like that to her today. That's how I get her to stop chasing squirrels. That's how I get her to stop chasing deer. Day one, she's just going. At some point, I just test language out there, especially with just saying the dog's name. I just want to say the name and see what they do. If they're fully engaged with sniffing on something, I just say the name. I was like, hey, Ophi, and I see what they do. If they don't respond, I'm like, okay, well, we'll keep working it. We'll keep going. At some point, someday, that smell is going to be normalized that they're going to finally listen to me. The same thing I could say with, someone may not agree, and I understand this. A lot of people are not going to agree with what I got to say right now. And that's the concept of, at some point, the dog barking and going crazy is going to get to the point that it's too much. It's overwhelming. And usually when that dog is already at the end of the leash and it's just doing the most and just spinning and going all that, if the dog is saying, I don't want to do this anymore, man. If it's still doing it, it's still fun and cute to some dogs because it's still, I'm going to say, new to them. But at some point it gets old. That's why I like to go places where I'm further away from some dogs and let the dog get closer and closer and closer and closer. A lot of dogs to be able to just see it. At some point it's just going to become oh, this is just every day. So when you keep doing that over and over, you end up to the point that you can just say the dog's name and the dog looks at you. He's like, what's up? At that moment, now I'm okay, we're headed somewhere. And I don't want to use the leash to communicate to them. I want my voice and me being the prize to the dog, to be that effective thing to be able to say to the dog what it is that I'm looking for. If I'm using a leash, I'm going, in my opinion, what I just see, I don't know what it is, but this dog here specific has really just upgraded my existence on seeing dogs, because she's like, you give this dog any kind of leash pressure, and she gives you that look back like, buddy, I'm not gonna chew on you, say yet, but I'm definitely not happy about that. She's like so expressive, like I can see it so easily. Whereas my Johnny man, I don't know what it is with this dog. His facial expression is just like, I can say he's like me. He's like, you can't tell what's going on. Is he happy? He's sad? What's happening? So it's kind of hard. But this dog in specific, she's really expressive. And especially, I don't know, y'all probably seen the hundreds of the videos of the Dalmatians. They're always like showing their teeth, and some people say that they're smiling, but in reality, she's showing their teeth in a way of protest. I don't want to do that. And it looks cute because it's the dogs, I'm going to say most of them don't really follow through with that, or that I personally have seen from even the videos and stuff. But it's not something that at the end of the day is healthy for the dog to think that it needs to do that to try to say to you that I don't want you doing something to me. And it's allowed me to be able to just really look more into what this leash is actually doing to the dog, what it's actually providing the dog. And if I'm using the leash more than just holding the dog, this is all I want my leash to do with me. This is just the way I see leash today. It is just to hold the dog. It is not to communicate anything effectively to the dog. It is to hold the dog. My body, my being, my presence, my just being near the dog within 6 feet is the communication I want to be able to get to the dog. And when I'm looking at my dog that way, things are just crazy much smoother, because I don't need to rely upon something that is just to hold them. Because at the end of the day, I want my leash to be a positive experience to the dog. I don't want it to see it as something as I'm unsure. That's why I can put a slip leash on any of my dogs and they don't care, because I'm not doing anything with them with it. And this is why the point today that I haven't been leashing, especially this dog and this dog, I've been leashing them, that when I put a leash on them, they're just like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? Because they're just, we don't wear them usually anymore. Same with my shepherd. I put the slip leash on and he's just like a professional looking, he turns into a whole different dog. That's why I prefer his harness, and that's why I prefer, because he's got a little more freedom to him. But yeah, I was training these dogs with this leash, and they know this leash comes on, it's gonna do something. But I'm not doing that with this dog. I'm doing things completely different. I want her to just have leash and it's just leash, man. I don't care what's on you. She knows that she's just basically right now stuck to me. She can't go anywhere. But I don't want to use this said tool as a tool. I just want it to be a simple thing of just containing the dog. I don't want it to be a yes, a no, a good, a bad, a this isn't right, that isn't right. That's why for me, the more and more I just keep on just experimenting and experiencing my own stuff, realizing things that I used to do that I don't really care for anymore. Because it's led me to places that I just see the disrespect that I'm giving to the dog, and it's not coming back in a good way to me. Can I get things to look good really fast instantly? Yeah, but I don't care about that anymore. I care about how am I going to be later on in life. I want to know that later on in life, I could take this dog pretty much anywhere. I mean, this specific one, she's pretty cool with people and traffic and busy areas. I want to be able to specifically take this animal, since she's already cool with that. And it's not that she's cool with it, she's overwhelmed about it. But she's not like scared and shut down, where he's cool as well. But my shepherd, he's scared, he's nervous, and it's just who he is. And I'm not trying to fight that out of him. In reality, I kind of was trying to do that, fight that out of him. And it's just not something to work with. But I want to know that in the future, when this dog is 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, especially when she turns 2 years old here in a year from today, I want to know that I don't care. We're good to go. I say, hey, Ophi, that's what I want. Hey, Ophi, stop that. Hey, Ophi, let's go over here. And she's going to say, okay, let's go do that. I don't want to be any kind of hostile things going on. And that's what I was gaining and getting with everything that I was doing with everything that I was doing with dogs, especially putting a leash on dog and thinking that I'm going to like train the dog with it, as opposed to it just being something to just hold the dog. And I want to train the dog with my body. My presence is powerful to these animals. But the animals aren't listening to our bodies when all we're doing is using this leash to try to like get in the middle. And that's the language that I even learned and I thought was to be dead on true. It's the bridge. The leash is the bridge between human and dog. No, the bridge between human and dog is me being able to understand what she needs, and then for me to be able to give that to her so she understands that I'm able to communicate to her, and now I'm able to communicate back to her effectively, which is saying, hey, no, let's just stay here. Hey, let's just hang out. Hey, let's lay down. Hey, let's just go over there, without anything extra going on here. As soon as you start to have to, this is the thing that I just see with dogs that's confusing. And why, like personally, like this one is the difference to get him off leash places. He's still not perfect off leash in all kinds of locations. If I take him to the trails, he's good. When I'm a border collie, I never put a leash on him. I never leash train this dog. We don't have any sort of relationship with that. So I don't have, he's always like, where are you? What's going on? What are you doing? Okay, I'll come here. Okay, I'll go there. So he never had to get to that point. That I just think that this is what happens to the leash. It's the bridge that disconnects us from the dog actually paying attention to me, that the dog only then just starts to pay attention to this leash. It doesn't care about me. It cares only about what this leash is doing. And that's where we're having probably the most confusing conflict with the dogs, because that's why the dogs are only performing when the said leash or when this or when that is in play, and not really paying attention to who you are. Where I want the dog to pay attention to who I am. When I stop, I want the dog to stop. When I go, I want the dog to go. When I go and sit down and hang out, I want the dog to sit down and hang out. When I get up and I say, okay, let's go meet somebody, then let's go meet somebody. Let's go do something. I want all of that to happen with just me, not because I have a leash to like pull them along or pull them back to try to get them to stop. I just want them to be around me. And at the same time, I don't care if they're like perfectly with me, next to me, all on the top of me. I just want them with me, close to me. Yes, these dogs back here are in a specific state. Because I just counted out, this last 2 weeks, I've hatched over 110 each week. So there's probably over 400 baby chicks in this coop at this point right now. And I just don't want them running the chaos. It's cool, it's cute. I might do it at the end of this video just to see, it gets loud, man. These chicks get loud, they get all wild and things go crazy. So just for video purposes, yes, I'm specifically saying to these animals to do something. Because I just, for one, I like to, haven't done this in a while, just make sure that they still are in tune with listening to me. And then two, I'm trying to be able to get them to help her out. And I'm always using a lot of my dogs to be able to help me out. And then the main thing is, I want all of this to go on without the dog thinking that it needs to listen to this leash. I want this leash to, at all times, be as loose as absolute possible, that there is absolutely no tension on it. There's no reason for the dog to have to think that it needs to get tension. And that's where if your dog is still barking at other dogs and it's still barking at anything, doing any of that, you want the leash to be loose. You want to be able to grab the dog and be able to have the dog come to you. You've seen that tiny little mount. She's like, what's going on? What's happening? That tiny little mount is, I want the dog to be able to respond to, hey, what's going on here? And I want her to know it's me. So she sees me. And then when she stays in this stance right here, and she starts to feel comfortable in this is why you go to the dog park far away and you get your dog comfortable, get closer and closer and closer. When your dog is comfortable and hanging like this, I can communicate. I want to say to the dog, I want to look at the dog and say, hey, you got a bug on you. I want to say, hey, I want you to come over here. Hey, I want this. Hey, I want that. Because she's still not 100% there. This here is just, I'm putting my dogs in extreme sticky situations. And granted, I do have the luxury, but it's not really a luxury. The amount of work that I just had to do today, and I do every single day to maintain and keep up with all that I have, is not something that's just so simple. And anyone, I would love to just show you a little bit so you can realize, like, it's not as easy as you think it is. Especially, I've got like 500 or 600 chicks at this point out here everywhere on this property. This isn't easy to just keep up with. There's a lot of stuff. But I do have the luxury of being able to put my dog here and have her stare at that. Where it's not the same as a bunny. It's not the same as a deer. It's not the same as a squirrel. But it's something that she loves these baby, man. These dogs go wild over big grown chicks. It's one thing. Baby chicks, dogs go wild over baby chicks. It is just, it's crazy. But it's allowing her to just sit here and just stare at it. She could look at it. And I don't want to have to be like doing this all the time. I want her to be able to get in it. Like day one, I got this dog. Heck no, we couldn't be here doing this. But I wouldn't even try to. I would slowly put her in it as I did with putting her around the grown chick slowly. Once she's calm like this and I'm no longer trying to hold her back with this leash, now I'm talking to her. Now she's listening to me. Now she will listen to me. But if I'm always using this leash to always keep like pulling her around everything, she's looking at something and I got to pull her out of it. She's looking at something, I got to pull her out of it. Without her doing it on her own, they're only just going to rely upon that leash. They're going to say, okay, the leash is going to tell me what to do. As opposed to the dog even having it in his brain of thinking like, maybe I need to like look at you to figure out what's going on. I want my dogs to look at me. I want dogs to pay attention to me, not the tools that I have, not the treats that I have, not the toys that I have, not the even praise that I have, but just me, just my own self, my own being. And that's where you end up getting a really, really, really nice dog. And that's why I say do nothing with the dogs with trying to pull on the leash or do anything. My favorite method, my dog sees squirrel, I just stand there and I like to just take a couple of steps back at it. I like to take a few steps back and just say to the dog, like, hey, we're not doing that. To get him to calm down, so I create that little bit of distance. I'm not gonna leave, I'm not gonna walk away, I'm just gonna create a little bit of distance so that the dog can finally just see it a little bit further away and it's not so like intense anymore. It's like, oh, there it is, it's right there. It's, Ophi, come here. It's right there, it's not so intense. So the dog can finally calm down. So like there, she got stuck in that chicken. That thing started running, and she's like, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. But I don't want her to think that she has to just rely upon that leash to figure it out. So right now she's testing the boundaries of how far she can go. I don't want to really pull her around or do anything. I want her to figure out what that boundary is, especially with doing something like just sitting here right now. You're sitting outside, you're sitting on your patio, you're sitting in the front yard, you're just hanging out. Just allow the dog to just lean into, I don't care what's on the dog, a flat collar, a harness, a martingale, I don't like them gentle things. There's something about the nose thing that just, it's just me. You know, someone can say, I don't like your slip leashes, Mark, but I just don't like that one. That's a slip leash over the neck, over the face. It's just, this is extra, man. It's just too much. But I don't care where she goes right now. She's gonna figure those boundaries out all on her own. How far can I go? She pulls into it a little bit. She's gonna sit there for a little bit, and then she's gonna just, okay, I'll just come back now. And that's gonna make her have to pay more attention to me, not the leash. Because if I'm pulling her back right now, if I do this to her, we're not doing anything. And if anything, right now, she actually gave me a little bit of a pushback right there, which just proves to me more and more that us pulling the leash around is just manhandling, just disrespect to the dog, as opposed to allowing the dog to just realize that the leash is just there to say you can't go so far. But day after day, week after week, the dogs start to realize how far that they can go, and then they stop like just taking off and going everywhere, and then they have to start to pay attention to me. What am I doing? So that I can say, because I want to be able to say the dog's name. I want to look at her now and say, hey, Ophi. And I want her to respond. So right now she's like, I'm going to go sniff this tree. So we're still not 100% there. But at the same time, I don't look for 100%. I look for if she's engaged and I say something and she's coming back, you know, cool. But for me to just constantly keep saying it, at the end of the day, that's why I don't really do too much stays or too much stuff with my dogs anymore. I just feel like it's circus show acts that are kind of just disrespectful to the dog at the end of the day. But the main thing is I want to be able to say that name, and then they just at least like trigger, like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's happening? So there's still stuff that I'm working on with this dog. I'm not here to explain to you how to get a nice dog in 5 minutes. If that's what you're looking for, I'm telling you, you talking to the wrong person. Because I can say no in 5 seconds, but putting this leash on, what we think is what saying no to a dog is using leash pressure and using certain collars to be able to snap that collar to be able to tell that dog no. But I've just come to realize like that's not really effective. It's short-lived, and it's something that you have to almost like continuously keep on doing over and over again. You don't just like get out of it. I want to get out of it. That's something that, again, majority of training that I see, we're constantly having to use a leash to keep giving pressure. Oh, I've been in this. This is the training methods that I used to do, people. It's not like I'm just seeing what someone else has done. I'm doing what I do, and I'm seeing that the things just aren't working, that I'm having to give them pressure over every day, over and over and over and over and over and over again. The dog's a little out of position, so I'm having to pull him back. Look, I push him, then I got to snap him back a few times, snap him back a few times, and then snap him back, and then give him a treat, which is, I don't know, that's still like super confusing to me when I really just think hard about that concept of like punishing the dog and then giving it a treat right away. It's like what the heck is going on right now? But it's just, you have to keep doing that, as opposed to just allowing the dog to have to pay attention to me and not pay attention to this leash. The more the dog pays attention to who I am and what I am, the faster I'm gonna be able to just get everything that I want away. Because then I'm putting the power upon my being, myself, as opposed to anything that I have. Because I want to be able to say to all of my dogs, no, I don't want that. That's how I say no to my dogs. And if my dog is going deep, sometimes I got to get loud, because if they're chasing a chick, they're deep in it and they're like, they're fully engaged. I gotta, hey, I said, stop that. I got to get a little more firm. And the dog's going to like, what's going on? What's happening? And I want the dog to just get like, okay, that's all that I need. And that's powerful. It is. I don't know how to say that anything else. That is the most powerful way to communicate to your dog. Outside of using this not outside of, but using this leash is not going to give you that same thing. And that's why for me, I don't like to go like that loud, that harsh, because the dogs get in their feelings, man. I just want to say, hey, I don't want that. So that's what I do now. When we're out on the trail, since I could call her name, she's like looking at squirrel. She's like, ooh, squirrel, ooh, squirrel. I could say, hey, Ophi. And she's like, and as soon as she does that, then I can be able to have a chance to say, hey, I don't want that. And then she's like, okay, well, let me not do that. And then we just keep doing that day after day, week after week, month after month. And then she's going to realize, okay, that's something that you clearly don't want. But I've just noticed that when I'm having to use this leash to try to tell the dog no, it's like we're just fighting. We're just going at this over and over and over and over and over again. And we're not really getting anywhere. And we're not getting anywhere, I don't think, because I don't think that the dog actually clearly understands what's going on. I think the dogs are so in tune with us as humans, especially today with how far we've been breeding them to get closer and closer to us. They know us. They know us. They can see us. They understand what we're doing with our bodies. That's why most of y'all, your dogs in the house, most, I put a 50% out there. Your dogs in the house are pretty cool. They listen to you pretty decently because they're in tune with knowing what's going on with your body. But when your dog starts to get into something that, say, it wants to do, that's where it's like, well, if you're not providing its needs, that's when it feels like it doesn't need to listen to you. And that's like, I think, challenging to a lot of people. Like, no, I don't need to do nothing for my dog. My dog better listen to me regardless. And that's just not what dogs are. You can have a dog, maybe you might get lucky in your life and have one that you're able to do that with, that it's gonna be good to go. But you're gonna get another one at some point that's not gonna work. That dog's gonna bite you. And then you're like, oh, my dog is aggressive, it's human aggressive, and this and that, I gotta put the dog down. As opposed to realizing that maybe we're doing things to that dog that is so disrespectful to make that dog have to bite. Because still, when someone says to me, my dog is trying to bite me, I see that dog, I just don't see a biter in ever. Anyone that I've seen. I've never seen a dog say, oh, that dog's ready to go get it. It's confused. It doesn't know. And if I come in with disrespect to that dog, I should expect to be bitten because that dog is trying to say something to me. And that's what we're doing, in my opinion, just with a lot of the leash work that we're doing with these dogs. We're coming in with disrespect. We're saying to the dog, stop, for instance, stop pulling, and the dog has a desire in it that it has to do that because that's what it was created to do. Somebody said, I need a dog to be able to this, so then they made the dog to be able to do that, and then we're coming in as a human saying, I don't like being pulled around, so I'm gonna force that dog to stop, so I'm gonna use my leash, and I'm gonna tell that dog not to do that. This is what my opinion, just Mark Anthony DuBose Jr., my opinion on why a lot of Huskies are getting a lot of pushback. My opinion why a lot of these dogs aren't seen anymore, because they give you a lot of pushback, because they have to do that. And then we're telling the dog not to do that. Then that dog has no choice but to say, you're disrespecting me. Doing what I need to do, I'm gonna retaliate, basically. And it's not that they're trying to get back at you. They're just trying to do what they have to do. So that's why the dog comes back on leash. You pull that leash back and that dog comes back on the leash and is trying to redirect and bite you. It's like, dude, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. And you're trying to say, no, no, no. And the dog's like, I have to do it. I absolutely have to do it. And that we're butting heads here. We're butting heads and the dog has to get it done. The dog is barking. The dog is suspicious. Like my dog here, he pretty, all of my dogs, because that's just Border Collies, German Shepherds, not so much as this one, Great Pyrenees. What else do I have out here? Is that all I have? I think that's all I have. And man, how these baby chicks all getting out still? And these dogs are all suspicious of people. And it would be ridiculous of me to say to that dog, don't bark when someone's coming at that house, and I'm gonna punish you for barking, when that's what the dog is, it's in the dog to do. Can I say to the dog after you barked a few times to stop? Yeah, that's where we should be at. But we should not be saying to that dog, you're wrong, you're bad, beat that dog, punish that dog, do anything to that dog, try to discipline that dog, try to even give that dog treats to try to get out of that stuff. Hey, Oreo, get down. Just try to get out of any of that stuff, because it's something that the dog has inside that it has to do. And that's where we're gonna see disrespect, because we're coming in and not explaining to the animal, allowing the animal to be an animal. We're just trying to, no, you can't anything. You got to just sit in the corner and be calm and have nothingness. And that's where I think we're stumbling, because the dog is suspicious of what's going on. So then we're going to discipline the dog for being what it's supposed to do. And that's where a lot of this leash work comes into hand. The dog is trying to bark someone away because it's, for one, if it's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable. I can't like force it to be comfortable and think that it's just going to be okay one day just from doing this, because it just doesn't happen. But if the dog is uncomfortable, we're coming in with this leash and we're using this leash in a way to get that dog to stop doing that, you're basically training and teaching that dog to keep doing that, because it is scary, it is nervous, it is something to worry about. The dog, in just my opinion, the dog doesn't understand you 6 feet behind on the back of the leash, pulling that leash back. The dog doesn't even understand what the heck's going on. It's so focused in doing what it's doing. So when it's so focused in doing what it's doing and you pull on that leash, that dog's gonna be like, oh, what the heck's going on here? Like literally, like what's happening? Most dogs I will give a leash correction to before, that's exactly how they would look. Like, what's happening? They don't look back at me like, oh, you did that to me. That's why pretty much that's my main go-to language that I always use is leash confusion. These dogs have leash confusion. They don't know what's going on. They don't know that pressure from that leash is coming from you. Whereas my voice, my being, they know for a fact, unless it's a deaf dog, but not even a deaf dog, they can feel the vibrations. They can feel they can smell. I don't know if there's any dogs that don't have the capability of smelling. I don't know if we can even test that yet, but it knows what's going on. It could feel that energy coming from you. Because I've worked with a blind dog when I was in my internship at the dog school. His name was Draco, big old German Shepherd. I'm not even gonna scare. I was terrified of this dog. Hearing that I got working with a blind German Shepherd, like I don't know what's going to happen right now, but he was so sweet, such an adorable dog. But he knew everything that I was looking for because he would just he could feed it and read it off of me, not having to see it, not even having to hear it, but just read it off of me. They get in tune with us. But when we're using a leash and we're not allowing the dog to be able to understand who we are, we're going nowhere. So for me, my go-to method and how I tell my dogs I don't want something is I simply say, my first go-to is, I don't want that. Get off of that. Let's go over there. I need you to stay over here. And if the dog, anyone that's been here, you've heard me do this before, especially my border collie, because sometimes he's a little extra, and I try to be soft and sweet about it at first, because I know how powerful when I say no is. He gets in his feelings, man. He gets deep in his feelings. And this dog is, I don't use no leash worth him. And that's why he's so in tune with having to pay attention to me, because he has to focus on me. He doesn't need to focus on this leash. Because this dog right here, she's at that bare minimum where she can still kind of feel it moving around a little bit. I'm trying to get her to get out of that. So that's why lately I've been doing a lot more sitting and hanging around. Instead of like going for so much longer walk, I'll do a little bit of walk and I just sit and I hang out and allow her to just be in the world and be around. And I want her to be able to see all this. Oreo, I know. Get down. You're supposed to be the role model to this girl, Oreo. I know the baby chicks is right here. We fine. That's a really adorable looking one right there. But I want the dog to see me, not have to rely upon all of this. So like right here, how she's focused, I want to be able to say, hey, Ophi. And I want her to snap out of it. I want her to like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? Because today she understands it. Because she knows like we've been doing this more and more and more. But I want to be able to say her name, and that just it's literally like, whoo, what's going on? As opposed to me pulling this leash. If I pull this leash right now, you can't see her much on camera right this moment, but she's taking like right now, the leash is, I'm gonna say a little snug. She's taking every little bit of this leash that she's like, I'm gonna get close to those baby chicks right now. And I don't wanna do anything but just allow her to just go through this. This is why I like the concept of the harness that a lot of people are just so against it with like reactive dogs. I get it, because it can teach the language of yes, keep going. But at the moment, in my opinion, any leash that's tight on a dog is teaching the dog in reality, yes, keep going. But I want the dog to get out of it knowing that we're a pairing together. If my dog is fully engaged into something, I'm not moving forward to it. If I give this girl just a little bit of this leash right now, she's gonna take off. She's gonna lunge forward and go get that baby chick that's right in her face right now. But if I just, at best case, is stand here and stay steady. And best case, I start to walk backwards and get away from it. She's gonna know for a fact that we're not going into that. We're not doing that. We're not in this mess. And that's what I want the dog to know, that it's not the leash and the pressure of pulling them back that's gonna get them to snap out of it. It's my voice. It's me that's gonna get them to snap out of it. And that's why you keep doing it more and more and more. That's why, again, outside of a place where if your dog don't like dogs, you go to a place you know dogs are gonna be and you stay far away. And you just go day after day after day after day after day to allow the dog to be able to see it, to be able to just calm down. But once it's not so like crazy, because it's like day one with these baby chicks, I couldn't do what I'm doing right now, day one with this dog. Especially I got this dog, the ad on this dog was no one with chickens because she kills them. She says she's sneaky, she like to just take off and get them. I'm like, buddy, I got hundreds of them out here. And I'm not worried about that because I know exactly it's the overexcitement that gets the dogs to do that mess. Once I calm the dogs down, now it's not so like, it's so going all wild and all crazy. It's much more relaxed, and now I can speak to them. And once I can start to speak to them, then we can start, say, training. But before that, you're not doing anything. You're not going anywhere. You're not making anything happen. When the dog is extremely aroused, tail's just going, dog's panting, dog's going crazy, you gotta take some steps back. You got to take steps back. It's too far. You're too far gone is what I'm going to say at that moment. You got to take some steps back, and take some steps back to be able to allow the dog to be able to get to the point that I can speak now. And once I'm able to speak to that dog, now we're training. Now I can snap him out of it. Now I can look at him and say, hey, that's actually not what I want, because they're going to hear it from you. They're not going to be confused of like, what's going on with the leash? What's going on with this treat? What's going on with this toy? They're just going to hear it from you. And you are clear. You are very clear with your language, with just being you. Yes is yes, no is no. We mess it up with the treats and the leashes, where the dogs are like, what does that mean? I'm not sure what's going on here. But when you're having a dog study you, I'm telling you, Your language is powerful. It is extremely powerful, extremely powerful. That's how I'm able to get all these dogs to just lay down when I want them to lay down, to stay when I want them to stay down, to stop doing something when I tell them to stop doing something, because they're listening and they're watching me. They're not worried about anything else but just that alone. And that alone is, just my opinion, what really gives you a nice dog. Because then they always want to check in with you, not because of what you have on you or any of this. They're just checking in on you. They're like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What do you make happen? Ophi, get off my Johnny. Oreo, get down. That's the only thing I don't like my dogs meeting other dogs when I tell the dog to lay down. I just feel like that's disrespectful to Johnny. He's like, I'm trying to stay here. What are you getting all up on top of me for? I can't leave because I put him there. That's a part of where I'm going to say, just my opinion on where the reactivity really starts. Because we're telling our dogs to do something, which is like stay close to us on this leash. And then we're allowing people and things to come to our dog, and our dog doesn't have a way to be able to escape. And that not being able to escape is going to make the dog have to do something to push whatever's coming in away. But if we're giving a dog, basically, say, an outlet of saying, no, don't worry about it, I got you. And still to today, years later, I'm still doing that with all of my dogs because I could see it in him. This is the thing that I know for a fact that all dogs know. We're not just a big happy family. No, he don't like her. He don't like her in a way that he's just like, she's got like princess vibes to her. She's like, I'm the queen, I'm the show. Everyone pay attention to me. This is how she is. And he don't like that, because he likes to be like that. So when she's all on top of him, he starts to get a little uncomfortable. And I see that he gets uncomfortable. That's a fight ready to happen. That's a fight ready to happen. If I don't just say to her, get off him right now. I don't want you on him. And then he looks at me, he's like, oh, you got my back. You got me. That's what gets dogs out of, in reality, the reactivity that's going on. We give them that outlet of saying, I got this for you. I'm going to keep you safe. Don't worry about what's going on out there. I'm here for you. And we want to be able to get the dogs to understand that without any extraness, without anything. Most dogs are not cool with meeting all people and all dogs. Most are not. And if it seems like they are, it's because they think that they're pleasing us to do that, even though that they don't really want to do it. That's why they do it up front for a little while, and then they start to protest. But the biggest thing I want my dog to understand is me. I don't give a crap about a leash. I don't give a crap about equipment. I don't care about any of that stuff. All that is, this leash here is just to make sure that she knows that she has to just stay close to me. But she needs to be listening to me. That's why still so far, she had a little bit, but even when she like going after that baby chick, she didn't just go. She didn't just like fully just commit, I'm just taking off, because she has that limitation on this leash behind her. But the whole time she's in tune with me. I could just see how she's always listening. She's looking at me more now. She's paying more attention to what I'm doing. She may not be directly like in my face like, hey, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? But she's in tune with paying very close attention to everything that I'm doing. And that's what's going to get her to, I don't need a leash. I can get her away from chasing deer. I can get her away from chasing dogs. I can get her away from chasing squirrels. I can get her away from doing all of that, because she's not fully engaged with the environment. She's fully engaged with me. And me taking her in the environment, allowing her to see that it's nothing positive and nothing negative. It's neutral. It's chill. Socialize to the environment. Now she's going to look at me as like I'm that main thing in the environment that she wants to pay attention to. That gives you a premium dog on this planet. Not a matter of how to give a dog a proper correction, how to give a dog a what kind of this and what kind of that. Use the leash as the tool that it was meant to be. Have the dog stay close to you, not to really teach the dogs much of anything. Because the more that I watch old videos of mine, and I can even see it in my dog's face, like, dude, you're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I hear you. And that's one thing that I really, really like about this video thing, that I could look at what I used to be doing to realize like that isn't working out. And I can see where I am today to just slap it down. That's why I want everything to just be open and just how it is. I don't want everything to look perfect and everything set up to be right. And that's something that, at the end of the day, I'm going to say again, I don't know it all. I'm still learning new things. And the new things that I'm learning is something that I believe is beneficial for more people to try to pay more attention to, as opposed to just doing the same old stuff that everyone's saying that they got it all figured out. They got the system, they got the method, and it's proven and it works. To me, I'm suspicious and weary of that. I'm very weary of that, because we are always growing to learn to do better on this planet with everything, from cars to planes to how we even drill rocks out of the ground. It's not like we got this proven system, this is how we do it. No, we're going to upgrade that one day. We're going to get better one day. We're going to mess up one day. We're going to continue to keep on going to get into a better place. And the main thing is, I messed up some with working with this dog and using way too much pressure with slapping this leash on her. And and demanding so much of just that. It was that down. I said down, get down. And I was messing up. I was messing up and I wasn't headed in the right direction. So I got to change this up. So I changed it up and I started to realize, this leash, I don't need to communicate nothing to her with it, because at the end of the day, like this specific dog in reality, she tough. She'll take it and just say, I don't care. I'm still gonna get my way anyways in the end. That's that like that Oreo, come here. I don't know how these baby chicks do. Oh, I got the door slightly open. Oreo, come here. Where you at? Get down. You fine right there. Get down. I told you, he get her going. Get down. He get her going. When Oreo, get down. When he's doing good, he ain't engaged, then the other dog won't get engaged. But she's not ready for that yet. She'll get ready to be able to chase these baby chicks at some point. Oreo, get down. I got you. It's been how long? 30 minutes? You get to chase them. I got you. Don't worry. But he could do that. He can chase him without going crazy. Even Johnny could chase him without really going crazy. He nibble on him a little bit. But she's not ready for that yet. She ain't nowhere near ready. No, I don't say nowhere near it, but she ain't nowhere near ready for that yet. We gotta build her up to realizing that it's not that exciting. It's just it's all right. It's cool and it's fun to be able to do this, but it's not like just this burst of just insanity on why they're like doing what they're doing. We got to get all of that out of the dog, so that burst of insanity is me at the end of the day. I want to be able to say to the dog, hey, come here. What are you doing? And them just look at me like, oh, okay, let's go do something. Let's go make something happen. I don't want it to be anything out here. And that's the unfortunate thing that I realize with a lot of what leashes are convincing dogs of it's convincing them. Oh, come here, girl. I know. We got a bunch for. Oh, look at them. Those are all cute right there. These baby. Anyone ain't been around some baby chicks. Baby chicks are pretty cool. It's a TV show in alone, just sitting and watching some baby chicks do what baby chicks do. It's something like uplifting about it. I don't know how to explain it. Just something that is just get you like 3 or 4 of them and just like watch them. Just look at them. You know, the TV screen isn't much about it, but just like sitting and watching them. There's something that is just, it just brings life to you. The same with some dogs, but the chickens are just, I don't know what it is. There's something weird about them because they're all so, they're like dog in a way that they're individuals. They're not herd mentality so much like all the other animals are. They all do what they do, and it's super cute to see them do what they do. But the main thing with this leash is I don't want to have to like tell her what I want with it. I want to tell her what I want by staying near me, but I don't want to be like using it in a way to tell her don't chase the baby chick. I want her to see it, and then she just automatically just gets out of it on her own. She gets out of it on her own, and then I'm like, oh, okay, hey, how you doing? What's going on with you? And then she's gonna be more in tune of understanding exactly what's going on with zero confusion. Zero confusion. I believe that most of the confusion, the most problems that we're having with dogs today is because of the confusion of the dogs don't understand what the leash means, and the dogs don't understand what the treats mean. So someone that knows what they're doing, yes, granted, to keep doing what you're doing. But as far as teaching the masses on how to do what someone that is really good at using and moving treats good, and someone that's really good at using a leash good, trying to teach that to the masses that are not like on their 18th or 20th or 300th dog, it's almost an impossible thing, I'm gonna say. It's almost an impossible thing because you're asking someone with only one dog experience to do something that you have hundreds of dogs behind your belt to be able to do, and you be able to just show them how to do it in a couple of weeks. And it took you a couple of years to be able to get to that point. Can everyone get to that point? Yeah, but you got to put in the work. You got to put in the dogs, man. You got to put in it's a lot. It's a lot to get real good at all this. But as far as the simple things that we all can be able to do without the need of a said dog trainer, because that's the main thing I'm trying to do is fire myself as a trainer up front before I get hired, is not trying to try to do things that basically I want to say is we used to do with dogs and always had nice dogs. And that's just hanging out with the dog. Because every dog that I see, that everyone, I still have yet to see this. Every dog I've seen that is just walking, doing what it's doing, it is so in tune with its owner. It's like, it's strange for me to say this, but it's like a beautiful thing to see. The dog is so in tune with the owner. They're out in public, at home, you know, whatever. They're running extra, doing a little bit more. But when you're out doing what you're doing, the dog is so in tune. They have zero cares of worrying about, oh, there's a squirrel. Oh, there's a dog. Oh, there's a person. They have zero cares. They're just like looking at the owner like, wow, you're the best thing on this planet. You're the greatest. And they're doing nothing with the dogs. They're not giving the dog anything. They're not even petting the dog. They're just moving around in the world. And that's where we want to be able to get to. And the way to be able to get to that is stop, like, in reality, training the dogs with tools, equipment, leashes, collars, treats, and just allow the dog to be able to understand who you are. Once the dog knows you, I'm telling you, you're going to be having a real nice dog on this planet. And that's something that in future time, I'm going to hopefully be able to continue to keep on showing with this dog. Because I like this dog, and I don't know what it is about this dog that her personality is it's intriguing in a way. Because I like my border collie, he's cool. But the affection that this dog brings, and a lot that I've seen, even in the videos when they're showing teeth and stuff, they're very affectionate animals. And being very affectionate and very high energy and willing to want to do, that's a great recipe for a fantastic animal. And that's hopefully what I'll be able to bring out of this dog, and then hopefully get like 3 or 4 more of them in the future. And I'd hope to be able to explain some things, to be able to help you out in a way, and get you out of the frustration that you're in. Because most of the frustration, I think, is because we're trying to do things and watch stuff from people that are Ophi, that are say professional, because they are professional, and they have way more experience than you even have, and they're trying to show it to you like it's easy to do, and it's not that quite easy to do at the end. But what is easy to do is have a leash on a dog, and allow the dog to be able to bond and listen to you, and not have to use a leash to be able to like communicate to them. The leash is just to hold the dog, and she's gonna eventually all this is gonna be calmer, and it already is today. And then one day she's just gonna be able to sit here and see baby chicks like, oh, there they are. And then I'll be able to say, okay, you can go get them. And then it's like, all right, game on, let's go do it. Thank you. Where y'all going? These guys ready. See, she's not ready for that with moving. The other guys can move chicks, she ain't ready for that. We'll just see what she does. But she just goes into play mode. She goes into play mode. So right here, this is perfect. Let me see. Man, I'm broke down today. I'm broke down. So that's the main reason I don't really care for the slip leash to go through this process, because they'll end up choking into it for no reason. This is why I like the harness. But this here, oops, sorry girl. She's all excited. She's all crazy. And I don't want to do anything here. I just want her to just get through this. She'll eventually get through this. She's gonna see it. She's dancing around. She's like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. At some point, she's just gonna eventually just hang out and just completely relax. And once she hangs out, then I'll say something to her. But like right now, I'll tempt it. I'll see. But even now, if I say her name, she's not gonna pay attention to me. Hey, Ophi. She's not gonna pay attention to me. Ophi. She's halfway there. Halfway there. But she's not really like, I don't want it to be that I have to like pull her back to get her to pay attention to me. I want her to already be like this, and then I can say, hey girl, hey Ophi. And I want that to be what she's looking at. She's like, oh, okay, I can hear you. That's how I can now, when I can say that to her, now I could say, if she gets into wanting to chase something, I could say, hey, no, knock that off. And she's gonna say, oh, okay, you clearly don't want that. It's because she's gonna read me and not be confused. But when she's reading the leash, she's like, was that yes, was that no? I don't know. And that's what I want more people to just really understand, how to be able to get out of the confusion that the dogs are in. Confusion is gonna lead to like absolute frustration.